All right, Mr. JL Rubin, thanks for coming back on the show. It's good to have you back. We have a lot of questions for you today.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Had some awesome engagement on TikTok with the last video. So a lot of people love what you had to say, and they just
Hmm.
had some questions, and they just wanted to see if you could kind of further explain that whole like claim that escrow money back. So let's get into it.
Well, real quick, man. As a disclaimer, and this is what because I work with a lot of people who want to deal in that space because I do other things, but yeah, a lot of people are curious about that, and I was the same way when I came across this information. I was like, wow, I was a little blown away. And then on top of that, I did my due diligence too. I started, doing my research, but I kind of already knew too. But anyway, my disclaimer is everything, all the clients I've been working with lately, and whenever I talk about this stuff, I do throw the disclaimer out there that I am a financial professional licensed in the state of California. My license carries in all 50 states except for New York because they have the New York Stock Exchange. But I am not a tax attorney. I'm not a tax accountant. So any information that I give people, any suggestions or recommendations that I give people, I always let them know. Always have a attorney. Always have a tax accountant to make sure that you're covering all your bases. But yeah, man, thank you for having me again, and let's get into it, man. I know a lot of people had a lot of questions.
Oh yeah. All right. So let's get into the first question. How can people get access to this money if they've already bought a house and they haven't yet hit that 3-year mark?
So yeah, so basically they, I let me say it like this. This information is not public information, right? And I try to explain it this way because a lot of people, when they ask me this question or these types of questions, I always use the example of like the credit bureaus, right? The credit bureaus, their algorithm is how they calculate your credit score is not public information. Okay. So, I mean, the last 10, 20 years, we have an educated guess on what we should and shouldn't do in order to make sure our credit score is good. But nobody knows for sure. Only the credit bureau. So TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, they're the only ones who hold that algorithm. It's not public information. Okay. Same thing in this situation. Okay. Um, this isn't public information. Some attorneys do know about this. So if you can convince an attorney to, dive into this and understand it, or maybe they're already doing it, but from what I've heard is that, these attorneys, they get paid from, from these mortgage companies, from these banks. So they're not going to disclose information. So how do you get it done? Go through me, maybe go through you, since we're going to be partnering up on some things too. And basically it's a couple of forms that you have to fill out and sign, and then you have to send a letter. And I think the reason why people are so curious or trying to say that it doesn't exist or whatever is because you can't Google it, Like, I mean, there's certain things you can Google. I think one of the questions you have is the RESP, I think is what it's called. That
Yeah,
is
the
that,
RESPA.
yeah. So that's part of it. But there's other things that come along with it too.
Oh, okay, for sure. So another question that so basically how do you access the money? You said certain tax forms and you would help them you would walk them through that. And now you've kind of taught me how to walk them through that too, because we'll be partnering up. But a lot of people have been asking, what is exactly the money that they're claiming? Is it the down payment on their house? Are they pulling that out? Is it like a lot of people are asking that variation of the question, what money exactly are they claiming?
Good question. Good question. So it really is whatever money went into the escrow account. Sometimes that could be the down payment, but usually the escrow is not the full amount in the down payment because of certain other costs that come out of the down payment that then goes into the escrow. So it's whatever. So like when they go into, if someone has bought a house in the last 3 years, they would have to go back to their closing docs, right? And inside the closing docs, there's a promissory note. That is the main source of that's the information that we would need in order to start the process to claim it, claim the escrow money. And so basically it's, whatever that dollar amount that is in their escrow when they first, started the process before they started closing on the house, whatever that amount is, that's how much the mortgage company or the bank gets times 10 from the Federal Reserve. Okay. And every, you know, a lot of people don't understand this, or I don't know if you can Google this, but basically, if you put let's say you put $1,000 inside of a bank account, okay, it's FDIC insured. Okay, what does that mean? That means that the bank gets insurance money from the Federal Reserve to insure that money. Okay, then what they do is they take that dollar amount and they put it into what is called a second escrow account. Okay, that second escrow account is what they trade on they trade that money, and then they're able to get up to 30% interest on that money. And then whatever interest they make goes into what is called a third escrow account. Okay, and so to answer your question, that's pretty much the amount that they're able to claim is whatever money that they get times 10 from the Federal Reserve plus whatever interest that the bank or the mortgage company has accrued over the last year or 2 years, depending on how long they've had that account.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Thank you for clearing that up. I definitely had about like 1,000 people ask me that exact same question. What about if they have already refinanced their house? Does it still work? Because I had a few people ask that too, and I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I mean, if they've done a refinance, they can, as long as it's in the 3 years of them closing on that property. Yeah, because I've had some people ask me that same question. They, because when they refinance, it's like, oh, does the clock start over? It's like, no, it's like it has to be within the 3 years. It's that first escrow account that you started. And a lot of people have, what ends up happening. And here's the thing now, and here's to your audience. If you have, I've had a couple of people tell me about this, but if you had a mortgage, basically what happens is that mortgage gets sold, right? So sometimes people can notice that the mortgage company is different from the mortgage company that they first started with. They might sell the mortgage 2 or 3 times, right? And the reason why the banks or the mortgage companies sell the mortgage 2 or 3 times, or they sell it, is because 70% of 30-year mortgages default, right? And so the banks or the mortgage companies, to cover themselves, they're like, well, I might as well just sell the mortgage because I know down the road it's going to default at some point. They sell the mortgage, they get that money, right? That money, they gets insured by the Federal Reserve. They get 10 times that amount, and and if you go past the 3 years, basically the language is that you have forfeited that money, right? And so a lot of people don't understand that basically you have, it's still in your name. It's still underneath your, what's the word? It's a number. So there's a loan number that's attached to you. It's not your social security number. Okay. That's why, it's not the person is actually the creditor. They're not the ones being taken, having the money being borrowed from. Okay. So it's if you think about it, a bank can't technically loan money to an individual, right? Because it's too high risk. A bank can only loan money to another corporation. They can only do corp to corp. And so if you read through your closing docs and you read through that promissory note for sure, all the language is basically saying that you are actually the creditor. You are loaning this escrow money to the bank to use to insure and then go ahead and make money off of it. And if you don't claim that money within 3 years, basically that money, the bank gets to keep that money, and you have technically forfeited it.
Wow. Okay. So you're saying that it says that in the promissory note and all the docs for when you sign a mortgage?
All the closing docs, yep. And if you take those closing docs to a lawyer, they might be able to sift through it. But again, like I said, some lawyers are getting paid to not tell you that you can claim this money, basically.
Okay.
So
All right. And does this work in Canada too? Or do you know?
I don't know if it works in Canada. I don't think I don't know. Probably not. Probably
Okay.
not.
Yeah, I had a few people from Canada
Yeah.
ask me that too, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
This one's just a little bit off topic, but I also had a bunch of people ask me this too. Are you
Okay.
in any way related to Kobe Bryant? Because everybody was commenting, being like, "Oh my God, Kobe Bryant's back."
Nah, man. Nah, I'm not related to him, but I've had it, I've been, yeah, people have been saying that like Kobe Bryant since I was, a freshman in high school. So ever since they won the first title. So
Really? Yeah.
yeah, a lot less since he's passed away. But whenever he was in the championship, man, people you come up to me. I remember I was in Hawaii, kids wanted my autograph. I'm like, I'm not actually Kobe Bryant,
No
right?
way.
They
People
yeah,
legit
they didn't
ask
even
for your autograph.
care.
That's
Yeah, that
awesome.
was so funny. They were kids, but like, anyway, so yeah, I've gotten that almost my whole life for sure.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, last question. So people obviously can't really find this on Google. They've never heard about this. And I had a lot of people like commenting, being like, this is a scam. Don't listen to this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So basically, why should the viewers trust you, and why, yeah, basically, why should they trust you if like no one's ever heard about it and you can't find it on Google and everything? Because this is a lot of money that they're dealing with, and people are, when it comes to like doing anything financially like big, people are normally
Mhm.
pretty scared, because people don't really like messing with their money for some reason. They get like
Mhm.
they get scared. So why should they trust you?
Well, I mean, a couple of things, man. I mean, number one, what do you have to lose, right? I mean, you're literally claiming money that you didn't have before, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, because most people, what they do is they put money in an escrow, and then the banks tell them that it's going towards their mortgage payments, and and all that stuff. And yes, yes, and no, but you're claiming money that you didn't even know you had. That's number one. So I mean, like, what do you have to lose? That's number one. But number two, no, people use the word scam sometimes loosely. Um, but at the same time, I understand people fear what they don't understand, right? And
Exactly.
and yeah, and in a world where we're able to Google stuff, right? We think that Google's a research engine, is actually a search engine, right? So it's like, if someone doesn't post an article or someone doesn't create a website in a certain subject, then you can't, there's no way you can Google it, right? Because especially if it's not public information, right? So there, I mean, there's a lot of people think that, okay, Google or the internet can give me all the information I want. But I mean, um, I will say this, man, like, it's funny because people do literally take what they hear and what they see on the internet as if it is gospel, and it's not. I'm the type of person, I'm the same, you know, and I'm the same way with maybe a lot of the people that, you know, have asked that question. You know, I want to know, I want to research everything. I want to look at everything. I want to look at it from every single angle. I want to understand it, you know. And so and I went through the same process, right? When I first came across information, I try to do that. But at the same time, if you understand what the banks actually do, okay, there's a couple other companies. I mean, outside of this escrow thing, like I've talked to other companies, and I went to school for economics and accounting, right? So I kind of in school it was like it was theory, right? It wasn't like, you know, we weren't using actual real life examples. It was all kind of just theory, right? So I kind of already, my brain was already primed for that, right? Not everyone, I can understand not everyone has gone to school for that field. Not everyone has worked in the financial industry for the last 10, 15 years. And not everyone has, you know, expertise or people on their team that have been in the mortgage industry for 30 years, and have seen, you know, these different things. You know, you're going to talk to my partner. He'll go through some really, really interesting things on, you know, what he's been through, as far as, and here, I'll just tell you the story. Basically, you know, my partner, he was working at a mortgage company, right? And somebody called him and was like, you know, very, very upset, right? Because she had sent in her money to pay for her mortgage, but then she got a notice back saying that it went into like a second escrow. She was like, what the heck is a second escrow, right? And so when he was doing, you know, all he was doing was just collecting payments. He was like, no, ma'am, it looks like we got your money. It went into second escrow. And then we also have it in the third escrow. And then she was like, what the heck is a third escrow? And like this lady got really, really mad, right? And then at that moment, he had you know, talked to his manager, right? And his manager, you know, he's like, what is the second and third escrow thing, like what does that mean? And then the manager said, you know, if you want to keep your job, you probably want to stop asking those questions. Right? So you know, so you'll talk to him about that, and maybe you should have him on and do a recording. He's, you know, very, very knowledgeable. But let's define the word scam, right?
Mhm.
The way I look at things, because you can call, you know, whatever, you can call McDonald's a scam, right? I mean, they give us bad food for our body that's going to kill us, but, you know, they say it's cheap and good for us, whatever, right? That could be,
Yeah.
you can call that a scam. So really, the way my, you know, what my mentor tells me is that if it's legal, moral, and ethical, then it's not a scam, right?
Absolutely.
Legally, yeah, legally you can do this, right? There's no law against you doing this. Maybe down the road at some point, when as this goes viral, enough people start doing this stuff, then maybe the banks will stop doing it, because the banks are betting that you don't know how to do this, right? Um, Maybe the you know, it's not on any politician's radar right now, but maybe, you know, they might want to do that, because like even with my, you know, my what I do, most of the time I do this escrow stuff too, but like even what I do is I help people put their money in tax shelters, right? The IRS is very upset with me and people people like me who are showing people how to not have to pay any taxes, right? So, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but you know, the powers that be, you know, if you know, if they want to regulate something or change something, they can, right? But as of right now, it's legal. Okay, completely legal. Any lawyer can do this for you. And that's why I say make sure you have a lawyer and have a tax accountant present. That's another reason why, you know, it's not, you know, what I do is not a scam, because I'm actually telling people you need a lawyer, you need a tax accountant to make sure that you sift through this stuff, right? Now, as far as like moral and ethical, you know, depending on your morals and depending on your ethics, it may conflict with you. For me, you know, I believe in God. You know, that's where my morals come from. As far as like ethics go, you know, I'm very ethical. I'm always trying to be fair. I never try to, you know, like, you know, take advantage of anyone, because I don't like being taken advantage of, you know what I'm saying? So I'm
Yeah.
always, you know, making sure that, you know, things are legal, moral, and ethical. Okay. Now, as far as trusting me, I mean, hey, if you don't want to trust me, you know, this is one thing my mentor says, right? If someone is drowning, right, and I throw them a life preserver, right, and then they look at it and they're like, I don't want to use this life preserver. It looks like a scam. And I'm chilling on a boat. I mean, I care about that person, but I'm chilling on the boat. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I have the information. I'm utilizing the information for myself. If you don't want to do that, perfectly fine. My business doesn't live and die with people who think what I do is a scam, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do care about people. I do want to educate them and make sure that they make the right decisions for their life. But at the end of the day, you know, you can lead a horse to water, can't make them drink. You know, if they don't want to, you know, take advantage of helping themselves out, hey, I'm okay with that because you know, my life is pretty good. But
Yeah, man.
you
And
know,
there's
just trying
really
to help them out.
there's nothing ethically wrong with claiming your own money.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
think that's a big one right there. But so some crazy valuable information here on this podcast, guys. Again, thank you, Jay,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
coming on. That was definitely a good show. We kept it short, kept it sweet and to the point, and I think that's exactly what the viewers wanted. So, because they were
Perfect.
asking, they're like, you need to have this guy back on. You need to make a new video. You need to further explain this because the last one was just so vague. Definitely dove down and kind of got into it this video. So thanks
Definitely.
again for being on. And you know, hopefully we can help a lot of people out paying their mortgage off in the next 3 to 5 years or maybe less, you know.
Yeah, man. And last thing I want to say to your viewers, man, incorporate yourself. Stop doing things in the name of your social security number. Do
Hmm.
things in the name of an EIN number or the name of a trust. Stop doing things in your name. Make sure you incorporate yourself. Make sure you have a trust in charge of your corporation. And that's, you know, how you be able to, you know, play with the big boys basically, you know,
Exactly.
and
Tax
you know,
sheltering and stuff.
yeah, if you want to be wealthy, you got to act like the wealthy. So act like
Exactly.
the wealthy, and then, you know, you may or
And
may
if
not be wealthy, but you probably will.
yeah, and if you want a trust built for you and all that, you know,
Let me know.
all of your stuff will be put down in the description. If anyone has any more further questions after this podcast, you guys can always reach out to JL Rubin directly. All his stuff's going to be linked down below. And if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe, make sure to share this to your friends and family. And yeah, thanks for being on.
All right, brother. Awesome Intangibles Inc., man. I'm out of here.
Awesome. See you, man.